Dear my souls, have you noticed it yet? The shift in how people speak your name? How the streets are buzzing, conversations are circling, and people who barely know you suddenly have so much to say. You didn't ask for attention, but God's blessings on your life are speaking louder than any announcement ever could. This isn't just gossip, it's confirmation. You've been chosen, and now the world can't stop talking. They're obsessed with how things keep aligning for you. They call it luck, but deep down, they know this kind of favor can only come from God. What's wild is they're watching every move, waiting for answers and wondering, how are you still rising? But you and I both know, when you're chosen, your blessings make noise even when you stay silent. Before we go further, let me take a moment to say thank you to everyone who's supported this journey through Super Thanks. Your generosity helps keep this message alive. And even if you haven't donated, please know your presence here is more than enough. I'm deeply grateful for you. Now, if your name is being whispered, if people are going crazy trying to figure out your glow, you're in the right place. Drop 777 in the comments if you know God's hand is all over your life. And let's talk about why you've got the streets talking. Let's get into it. God's chosen ones. You've got the streets talking. People are going crazy over your blessings. Number 1. When the dust settles, the real ones still stand. Chosen. 1. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the temperature change without saying a word? Why is it that your silence speaks louder than their noise? Why do people who once laughed at you now whisper when your name is mentioned? The answer is simple. When the dust settles, those who were truly built by God are the ones still standing. You didn't raise your voice, yet the entire atmosphere shifted. How is that possible? They tried to clown you, didn't they? Tried to categorize you, silence you, shrink you. To them, you were invisible, just background noise in their self-centered narratives. But what they never understood is that you were never designed to be understood by average minds. You were crafted to stand out in a world that rewards conformity. You are the glitch in their pattern. While they tried to build a throne on imitation, God was building a kingdom through your authenticity. The Bible says in 1 Peter 2:9, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." They didn't see your value because they weren't meant to. Their eyes weren't trained to recognize divine frequency. Just like Emily Dickinson, ignored during her lifetime, misunderstood for her quiet and reclusive life. Your story was underestimated. Dickinson wrote over 1,800 poems, yet fewer than a dozen were published while she was alive. It wasn't until after her death that the world saw the weight of her words. And now, generations are changed because of what she created in silence. Just like her, you weren't hiding. You were preparing. Have you noticed how the people who once ignored you are now studying you? They watch your every move, not out of admiration, but confusion. You didn't follow the path, they did. You followed your frequency. You didn't ask for the spotlight. It found you. While they screamed for likes, you were being aligned by God. And now your blessings are too loud to ignore. Psalm 118 verse 22 declares, "The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. You are that stone. The very one they tossed aside is now holding up the structure they're trying to imitate." While they were building crowds, you were building character. While they were chasing trends, you were chasing truth. And now they panic, not because you succeeded, but because you succeeded without them. Remember Howard Schultz, the man who brought Starbucks to life? He was rejected over 200 times while pitching his vision. Investors didn't see the value. They thought it was just coffee. What they didn't realize is that it wasn't about the coffee, it was about the culture. Just like your purpose, Schultz's vision wasn't built to fit in, it was built to shift everything. And once the shift began, the world couldn't unsee it. Chosen one, you didn't get lucky, you weren't handed this. Every delay, every denial, every closed door was precision disguised as pain. While you were being told no, God was saying, not yet. Divine timing doesn't rush, and it doesn't miss. Ecclesiastes 3:11 reminds us, He has made everything beautiful in its time. That includes you. You've been made beautiful through the waiting, shaped through the silence, and perfected in private. You thought the silence meant abandonment, didn't you? You questioned your light because it wasn't being validated by others. You dimmed yourself. You swallowed your words. You stood outside of rooms that you were actually qualified to lead. You even considered quitting. But here's your wake-up call. Silence isn't absence, it's strategy. It's what heaven uses right before the shift. While others were performing for attention, you were building in secret. While they sought applause, you found alignment. Now that your time has arrived, don't shrink. Don't apologize. Don't ask for permission to walk in a room God already gave you dominion over. This isn't arrogance, it's assignment. You were never meant to blend in. You are the blueprint, not a copy. That's why rooms feel different when you walk in. That's why people study your silence like it holds a secret they're too afraid to admit. That's why you don't have to chase opportunity. Opportunity bends toward your presence. Isaiah 61 calls it out plainly. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Your time isn't coming, it's already here. You didn't just survive what was meant to destroy you. You transformed in it. You didn't break. You became unbreakable. And now those who laughed are silent. Those who doubted are watching. Those who tried to bury you now realize they were planting a seed. Think about Bethany Hamilton, the pro surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack at 13. Most people would have given up. She returned to professional surfing just 1 month later. That's what resilience looks like when it's anointed. That's what happens when you refuse to fold. That's what the chosen do. They rise in places where others quit. And now the world wants to know, how did you do it? But the real question is, how did you not give up when everything around you told you to? You didn't fold under pressure. You didn't retaliate in anger. You didn't beg for attention. You let your endurance speak. You let your character tell the story. You let time do the talking. And now the noise they made is being drowned out by the volume of your fruit. They'll say you changed. They'll say you switched up. But what they won't say is how hard they tried to keep you small. They won't admit the closed doors, the whispered lies, the sabotaged moments. But God saw it all, and God kept receipts. John 15:16 tells us, You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit. Fruit that will last. Your fruit is the evidence. Your endurance is the proof. The whisperers, let them talk. Their words are echoes of a plan that failed. They were fighting someone who couldn't be defeated because you were covered before the battle even began. They'll try to recreate your formula, but you're not a formula. You're a frequency. You are the evidence of God's promise walking in real time. Don't dim your light because it makes them squint. Don't apologize for the calling they didn't have the courage to carry. And if you're still asking, why me? Then, chosen one, you haven't been paying attention. Why you? Because you were built for the wait. Because you didn't run. Because you were the seed they thought they buried, but God knew you were taking root. Because, as Jeremiah 1:5 says, Before I formed you in the womb I knew you, before you were born I set you apart, and now it's your time, not by accident but by assignment. The world doesn't need another imitation, it needs the real ones, and that chosen one is exactly who you are. Number 2, perception is their cage. Your presence is the trigger. Chosen one, have you ever wondered why certain people tense up when you walk into the room? Why do conversations abruptly stop and glances turn your way like you're carrying some kind of unspoken authority? Why does your quietness make others so loud with confusion? It's not arrogance, and it's not ego. It's energy. You are the trigger because your very presence shatters illusions. You don't even have to speak, and yet your silence rewrites the narrative. But why does that happen? Could it be that your very existence challenges everything they thought was safe? Here's the truth they won't admit. Their perception is the cage they built for themselves, and you, chosen one, are the freedom they're afraid to face. You are the contradiction to their conformity. You're what their stories never accounted for. You're what happens when alignment walks into a room full of actors still performing for applause. Have you ever felt like your presence alone exposes masks people thought were secure? The Bible says in 2 Corinthians 2:15, "For we are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ among those who are being saved and those who are perishing." Your presence isn't just seen, it's sensed. You bring spiritual conviction without saying a word, and that makes people uncomfortable. Not because you're wrong, but because your truth exposes their falsehood. Your authenticity demands they reevaluate their performance. And most people don't want to wake up, they'd rather keep dreaming in the dark. Have you noticed how people often assign labels to you before they've had a real conversation with you? Think of James Baldwin. He was one of the most profound writers and thinkers of the 20th century, and yet so many tried to dismiss him because he spoke truth that pierced the comfortable lies society wanted to protect. He was called radical, divisive, and dangerous. But the truth was this: Baldwin was simply awake while others slept. Like you, chosen one, he was the voice of clarity in a world that preferred fog. Have you ever felt like you were being punished for simply being awake in a world that wants to sleep? Some people try to crown you, others try to crucify you. But what they all share is this: they cannot ignore you. You trigger an inner shift, even in those who deny it. They may not understand you, but their spirits respond before their words can catch up. They straighten up when you walk in. They think it's respect. It's not just that. It's recognition. Recognition that you carry something different, something divine. Isaiah 43:1 declares, "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name, you are mine." That verse follows you like a shadow. Do you ever wonder why certain people react to you with such intensity, even when you've done nothing to provoke them? They don't know why they react to you the way they do, because they don't know the name God called you in the Spirit. They only know the name on your ID. But heaven knows the anointing stitched into your soul, and that's what people feel when they're around you. You are not confusing. They are simply unprepared. You are not arrogant. They are simply unhealed. You walk with a different software, one written by God, not society. Just like an outdated machine glitches when faced with a new operating system, people around you short-circuit when they sense your alignment, and so they make stories. She's doing too much. He's acting different. They must be hiding something. Why? Because their assumptions are easier to accept than the truth you represent. Have you ever caught someone creating a narrative about you based on their insecurity, not your reality? Just like Jean-Michel Basquiat, the self-taught black artist who broke every artistic mold and was once labeled primitive because the establishment couldn't categorize his genius. Today, his paintings are worth millions, and his legacy reshaped modern art. But during his life, people tried to reduce him into stereotypes they could manage. And that's what people try to do with you, chosen one. They don't understand you, so they shrink you in their minds, hoping that makes the discomfort go away. But their discomfort is not your responsibility. Their confusion is not your assignment. And still, you're not even doing anything loud. You're just existing. Have you realized that simply being yourself disrupts everything fake in the room? You're not chasing the spotlight. It's orbiting around you. You didn't ask to be a symbol, but your very survival became one. You're the proof that realness can rise. That authenticity still speaks louder than trends. That character still commands attention even in the age of clout. John 15:19 says, "If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world." That's why you feel different. That's why you are different. The chosen are rarely comfortable because you were not born to blend. You were born to break patterns. And what do people do when they don't understand someone? They either worship them blindly or try to destroy them. Both are forms of fear. Some idolize your journey without ever understanding your pain. Others demonize your growth because it reminds them of their own stagnation. Don't let either group shape your identity. Have you ever felt like people either overly praise you or unfairly attack you without knowing the full story? Even Frida Kahlo, one of the most celebrated artists in history, was misunderstood in her time. She painted her pain, her politics, her identity with unapologetic rawness. Many reduced her work to surrealism or dismissed it as emotional chaos. But decades later, her art and voice became symbols of resilience, feminism, and cultural pride. What people feared in her then is what the world praises in her now. And chosen one, you're walking that same contradiction. Are you starting to see that being misunderstood is not a curse? It's confirmation. So what happens next? The myth-making begins. You become a story, an echo, a riddle. They say things like, something about them is different, but can never put their finger on it. You live rent-free in their minds. They scroll your page. They whisper your name. They copy your moves without understanding the source. But you keep moving. You don't slow down to explain yourself to every confused spirit. You don't apologize for being the one who refuses to shrink just to make others feel tall. Ephesians 5:13 tells us, "But everything exposed by the light becomes visible, and everything that is illuminated becomes a light." You, chosen one, are that light. And when light enters a dark room, it doesn't negotiate. It just reveals. Your existence exposes everything false. That's why they either cling to you or criticize you. That's why you're both admired and misunderstood. Let them project. Let them speculate. Let them write fiction because they can't handle your truth. You were never made to be contained by their comfort zones. You were made to stretch the atmosphere, to awaken the slumbering, to force reflection. And yes, that makes you dangerous to everything fake. So don't dim your light because someone else flinches in its brightness. Don't fold because the crowd can't decode your calling. Your impact is not up for debate. Your alignment is not a trend. Your presence is a message. And God is the author. When was the last time you celebrated your light without apologizing for it? When they say, "You've changed," tell them, "I was never meant to stay the same." When they say, "You're acting different," respond with, "That's called growth." When they say, "Who does she think she is?" remind them, without speaking, that you are exactly who God said you were. Philippians 1:6 assures us, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." So stop second-guessing your glow. Stop questioning your position. You didn't crown yourself. He did. And if He started it, He will finish it. You weren't made to blend in. You were made to shift the atmosphere. You are not here to explain. You are here to awaken. Let them talk. Let them stare. Let them wonder. Because the truth is, they've never met someone like you before, and they won't again. You are the pattern breaker. You are the trigger in their system. And yes, chosen one, you are the storm that their silence prayed would never arrive. Number 3, your name walks in before you do. Chosen one, have you felt it yet? That eerie moment when people look at you like they've known you their whole lives, yet you've never met. Have you walked into a room and sensed a shift even before you made eye contact with anyone? That's not imagination, that's confirmation. Your name has been moving through spaces long before your body arrived. You didn't speak, but something in the atmosphere already whispered your existence. You are not merely present anymore. You are anticipated. Legends don't introduce themselves. They arrive, and the room bends around them. Can you feel the weight of what you carry? It's not hype, it's heritage. It's not noise, it's a name that's been echoing across timelines and hearts alike. It begins subtly, your name in a whisper, your presence in a glance exchanged between people who can't figure out how you've become so deeply felt without ever asking to be noticed. What makes people speak about you without knowing you? Why are strangers forming opinions based solely on your energy? Because you're not just someone with a story, you are the story. You are the ripple before the wave. You are what it looks like when divine truth wears human skin. And though they've never met you, they've met your impact. You've become the conversation in rooms you've never entered, the blueprint for boldness they haven't yet mustered. Psalm 23:5 declares, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows." That oil, your anointing, is what travels before you. That's what causes rooms to shift, tongues to talk, and energy to recalibrate in your presence. Even when you're silent, your spirit speaks. Do you wonder how people have built whole versions of you in their minds? How they react to you like you've already walked into their inner world? It's because your energy lingers in places your feet haven't touched. That's not coincidence. It's legacy unfolding in real time. You aren't just remembered, you're relived. People talk in corners, create screenshots in secret chats, and leave cryptic comments under your posts. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are becoming. You're not famous, you're felt. And that scares people who have spent their lives performing for attention. You exist in contrast to their illusion. You didn't beg for eyes. You kept showing up with truth until the world could no longer look away. What if the energy people feel around you isn't confusion, but conviction? It reminds me of Nina Simone, raw, powerful, misunderstood. She didn't bend to the world's expectations. Her voice wasn't just melodic, it was spiritual thunder. She spoke about race, justice, power, and they called her difficult, but now she's legendary. That's the path of the chosen, misread today, studied tomorrow. Isaiah 62:2 reminds us, "The nations will see your righteousness, and all kings your glory. You will be called by a new name that the mouth of the Lord will bestow." Your name is changing, not in spelling, but in meaning. It carries weight now. It carries history. You didn't shout for validation. You lived in such alignment with truth that your presence started making noise without your voice. You ever feel like you've become a character in other people's scripts? That they've written your story for you without ever reading your truth? They assign assumptions, declare fantasies, build entire myths. Because mystery unsettles them. Your peace feels like a secret. Your stillness feels like defiance. But what if stillness is actually your strategy? What haunts them is this: you didn't force your rise. It happened while you were minding your purpose. They confuse your authenticity for manipulation because they've never seen influence without effort. They don't know how to categorize you, so they turn you into legend. But the wildest part, you didn't ask for this. You didn't crave it. It found you. But 1 Samuel 16:7 speaks truth here. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And it was your heart, not your hashtags, that qualified you for the kind of reach they're now studying. You didn't curate an image. You cultivated integrity. Do you realize how rare that is? In a world where people post more than they pray, where appearances matter more than anointing, your authenticity became magnetic. That's why they don't treat you like a person. They treat you like a story they're desperate to interpret. You've become a symbol, a metaphor, a mirror they didn't ask to face. Think of Bo Burnham, a quiet genius in the comedy and music world. He started in his bedroom, vulnerable, raw, and unfiltered. People didn't know what to make of him. He didn't follow the rules, and that made him unstoppable. He didn't demand applause. He let truth perform, and now his name speaks before he enters any creative space. So here's the question. Are you still trying to play small just so they'll stop talking? Are you minimizing your light just to keep them comfortable? Why silence the truth of your becoming just because it echoes louder than their performances? Don't apologize for what God is amplifying. Proverbs 22:1 says, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." Your name has become a currency, one backed not by noise but by alignment. That's why people bring it up when you're not there. That's why they study you without knowing why. That's why they swear they knew you before the world did. But they didn't know you. They knew the idea of you, the version they could manage, the version they could control. But now, they can't contain you. They can't explain you. They can only react. And the reactions are wild, aren't they? Some swear you've changed. Some claim they were there from the start. Others attach themselves to your light like it's their last hope of relevance. But none of that matters. The only thing that matters is this. You chose you. You chose truth. You chose alignment. And now your story is moving with velocity, breaking timelines, shattering boxes, and pulling purpose into the spotlight. Misty Copeland, first African-American principal dancer at the American Ballet Theatre, was told her body didn't fit the mold. Too muscular, too late to start, too different. But what they missed was that she was exactly what ballet needed. Her presence rewrote the standards. Her name didn't just rise, it redefined an entire space. That's what you're doing, chosen one. Romans 8:18 assures us, "I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us." Your glory isn't coming, it's being revealed. Slowly, powerfully, inevitably. So when you hear your name in places you've never been, remember, that's not gossip, that's gravity, it's divine reach. It's what happens when someone lives in such undeniable alignment that the world can't help but take notice. Don't downplay it. Don't brush it off like it's random. Don't call it coincidence when it's clearly confirmation. You weren't hiding. You were being prepared. And now that your preparation has reached full bloom, the world is just beginning to notice the fragrance. You are the mirror they weren't ready for. The myth they didn't want to believe was real. The movement they never saw coming. And whether they celebrate you or slander you, one thing is guaranteed. They will still say your name. So tell me, chosen one, are you ready to own it now? Number 4, they see the glory, never the grit. Chosen one, have you ever felt invisible while building something destined to be unforgettable? Have you ever stood in the shadows while knowing deep inside that light was forming around you? Now they stare at you like a mystery they can't decode, amazed by your shine, confused by your calm, suspicious of your wins. But what if they knew what it cost to walk this path? Would they still envy you? People see the outcome but never the origin. They admire the crown but ignore the crucifixion. You make it look effortless because you carried hell in silence. They say you're lucky. They say things always work out for you. They see doors opening and assume you have some divine shortcut coded into your DNA. But you and I both know that's not luck. It's labor. Galatians 6:9 reminds us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And chosen one, you didn't give up. You showed up again and again, when no one was watching, clapping, or checking in. You kept going when every sign told you to stop. So now that the harvest is visible, people can't help but watch, but they weren't there when the seeds were buried in tears. Have you ever laid awake wondering if it was all for nothing? Have you ever fought to motivate yourself when no one else believed in what you were building? They weren't there when you carried yourself through silent storms. They didn't witness the countless times you had to resurrect your spirit from the ashes. But now they watch the bloom and act like the process was painless. It's the same reaction Harriet Tubman received. They called her a myth, a legend, a miracle, and they were right. But what they forget is the grit. She risked her life over and over to lead enslaved souls to freedom. She didn't ask for attention, she asked for deliverance for herself and for others. They didn't see the lonely nights, they just see the legacy. That's what they do when they can't comprehend your formula. They label it a glitch, a fluke, or worse, they claim you cheated. They'll say, "You must know someone," or "You just got lucky." But they'll never say what's true. You earned this. You didn't skip steps. You just didn't broadcast your process. That's what terrifies them the most, because if you earned it by walking in truth, what does that say about their shortcuts? Psalm 66, 10 through 12 reveals the secret behind your journey. "For you, God, tested us. You refined us like silver. We went through fire and water, but you brought us to a place of abundance." They don't know about the fire. They only see the gold. But you know every scar, every invisible wound that became wisdom, every quiet night that became fuel, every rejection that built resilience. Have you noticed how strangers act like old friends now? People who once ignored you now smile like they've always supported you. They watch your every move, hoping to extract the key to your momentum. But they'll never find it, because the key is not something you can copy. It's something you become. It's forged in silence, shaped in suffering, and tested in solitude. Serena Williams didn't become the greatest because she had an easy road. The media criticized her body, her passion, her power, but she kept winning, not because she played for applause, but because she played with purpose. What they called too much was exactly what made her unstoppable. And you, chosen one, carry that same defiance in your destiny. They see the shine, not the sharpening. They can't comprehend the discipline it took to stay silent when provoked. They don't know about the work you did in the background while others loudly posted about doing the same. Have you ever smiled publicly while privately bleeding? That's what they'll never understand. They confuse your calm with comfort. They don't know your battles, they just envy your balance. Romans 5:3-4 puts it plainly, "We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." You didn't skip the struggle, you just stopped performing it. Your pain wasn't a show, it was a classroom, and you graduated with grace. Now your name holds weight. It echoes in rooms you've never entered. It travels into conversations you were never invited to. How does it feel knowing that your story is now being whispered in boardrooms and group chats alike? Isn't it wild that people are talking about you like a legend, even when they've never walked your path? They assume your rise was magical, but what if the real magic is consistency? What if the miracle was that you kept going? Take Brandon Stanton, the creator of Humans of New York. He wasn't backed by fame or fortune. He just walked the streets with a camera and a heart for people. His quiet persistence turned into one of the most powerful storytelling platforms in the world. That's what happens when purpose is louder than performance. You walk like something's got your back, because it does. You're not lucky, you're backed by prayers no one heard, backed by nights you didn't give up, backed by the power of a promise you chose to believe even when the results didn't show up right away. Deuteronomy 31:6 declares, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." You've been covered all along. The protection wasn't loud, but it was there. And now the covering has become a calling. Let them study your glow. Let them build theories around your grace. Let them whisper about your wins. What they'll never see is the cost, the hours, the tears, the risks, the faith. They want your platform, but not your pain. Your fruit, but not your fight. Your glory, but never your grind. That's why they'll never fully understand you, because what you built wasn't for show, it was for soul. Your alignment opened doors that clout never could, and now they don't know whether to cheer for you or fear what you'll do next. And that's fine. Let them wonder. So let me ask you, chosen one, have you been shrinking just to make your blessings more palatable? Have you been hiding your joy so others won't feel insecure? Stop that. You didn't steal this. You sowed this. And it's time to stand tall in your harvest, because the moment the world started noticing you, that wasn't the beginning. That was just them finally catching up to what heaven already crowned. So let them talk, let them watch, let them speculate. You don't owe them proof. Your life is the evidence. You didn't just survive, you refused to disappear. And now you walk in rooms with a presence that makes noise before your name is even spoken. The truth is, they don't know whether to fear you or follow you. Good. Keep moving. Number 5. When you move, the world stares, even when they pretend not to. Chosen one, have you started noticing how eyes linger just a little longer when you walk by? How conversations go quiet for a beat when your name is mentioned? How people pretend not to notice yet seem oddly aware of your presence? It didn't start with a roar. It started subtly, a glance, a whisper. A name passed around in rooms you never walked into. You thought it was nothing, just passing curiosity. But what if that quiet attention was the beginning of something divine? What if the silence around you wasn't emptiness, but preparation? Now the buzz has grown. That quiet ripple has turned into waves. You've become the song they didn't ask to hear, but can't stop humming. Your name lingers. Your presence loops. People talk about you like you're an event, not a person. And the wildest part? You didn't push for any of it. You didn't post louder. You didn't demand the stage. You simply were. And the conversation followed you like a shadow. John 3:8 says, "The wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit." That's you, chosen one. Unpredictable, uncontainable. They feel you, but they can't figure you out. They sense something's different, but they can't quite name it. So instead, they obsess over it, study it, try to replicate what can only be received. Have you noticed how some people act like they love you until they realize they can't control you? Others claim to hate you, but can't stop watching. They're not just curious, they're confused, because you've made something very uncomfortable become very visible. You remind them of what they lost, or worse, what they never had. You carry something they buried years ago, something sacred, something raw and unfiltered, something real. They feel it when you move through life without begging to belong. They feel it when you don't flinch at silence, when you choose purpose over popularity, alignment over attention. You didn't fold, and that alone makes you a threat. Because if you can rise without playing the game, what does that say about everyone who sold their soul just to be noticed? Psalm 75, 6 through 7 speaks directly to this. For promotion comes neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge. He puts down one and exalts another. Your rise wasn't orchestrated by men. It was ordained by heaven. That's why they can't replicate it. That's why their strategy falls flat while your spirit keeps ascending. Think of Tyler Perry. For years, Hollywood ignored him, mocked him, but he didn't wait for approval. He built his own platform. He created a billion-dollar studio on land that once held Confederate bases. That's the anointing of the chosen. They don't ask for seats at tables. They build new rooms entirely. You carry that same blueprint, chosen one. Have you noticed how people study you now? Like you're a code they can crack, like if they analyze your habits long enough, they'll uncover the secret behind your glow. But they won't. Because what you carry can't be learned through imitation. It's not a formula. It's a fire. And fire isn't copied, it's caught. Romans 11:29 says, "For God's gifts and his call are irrevocable." You didn't choose this calling. It chose you. That's why no matter how much you tried to downplay yourself, shrink yourself, blend in, it never worked. Because when God calls someone, their very existence becomes a message. And you, chosen one, are living proof that presence alone can shift reality. You've become their case study, their quiet obsession, their "how did they do it?" question mark. Some mimic you, hoping to copy the fruit. Others mock you, hoping to dismiss the roots. But here's what they don't know. You didn't download your light from a trend. You developed it in darkness. While others performed, you transformed. While they followed fads, you followed God. Malala Yousafzai was just a teenage girl when she began speaking out against oppression. They tried to silence her with violence, but even bullets couldn't stop the voice of a chosen one. Her light only grew stronger. She wasn't performing, she was aligned, just like you. Have you ever wondered why you still shine even when you're quiet? Why people talk about you more when you say less? It's because your light isn't noise, it's truth. And truth speaks without words. They're trying to understand you using logic. But what you carry defies reason. You've become momentum. You don't chase it, you are it. They want your glow, but not your growing pains. They want your peace, but not the process. They want your elevation, but not your isolation. What they see now is the afterglow. But you remember the ashes. You remember when you had to rebuild your confidence from the ground up. When you had to believe in yourself without applause, without support, without certainty. Hebrews 10:35-36 reminds us, "So do not throw away your confidence, it will be richly rewarded." You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. Your confidence was built in the waiting room. Your reward? It's just beginning to unfold. People are now trying to decode you like a mystery. They whisper your name in places you've never been, trying to trace your steps. But they'll never grasp the whole picture, because they don't know the sacrifices, the discipline, the days you felt like giving up but didn't, the spiritual surgery that took place in silence. They see the light, but not the oil that had to be pressed from your pain. Consider Ava DuVernay. She didn't direct her first film until her 30s. No film school, no famous connections, just vision, grit, and undeniable calling. Today, her name opens doors. But before that, she knocked on doors that never opened and still kept building. That's what chosen ones do. They rise anyway. So why does the world keep watching you? Why can't they look away, even when they claim not to care? Because you became proof. Proof that you can walk with grace and still shake the ground. That you can stay silent and still be heard. That you can go your own way and still be followed. You didn't become legendary by trying. You became legendary by being true. And they feel that truth, even when they don't know how to name it, even when they pretend not to see it, even when they scroll past your light, only to return and stare longer than they planned. So let me ask you, chosen one, why are you still playing small when the world is watching your every step like it's sacred choreography? This is not the time to doubt your shine. This is not the season to question your presence. You didn't sneak into this moment. You were summoned. Isaiah 60:22 closes the case. When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. And now it's happening. Doors are opening, rooms are shifting, conversations are forming. Not because you forced it, but because you flowed in alignment long enough for the divine timing to arrive. So don't apologize for your radiance. Don't shrink to make them comfortable. Don't delay your next move because they're still stuck studying your last one. You are not a trend. You are not a theory. You are the embodiment of what happens when someone walks with God and refuses to bow to the noise. Let them watch. Let them wonder. You don't need to be understood. You were chosen to be felt. Number 6. When your name becomes a story, everyone wants a chapter. Chosen one, have you ever stopped to ask yourself why people speak your name like it's a myth, even when you've barely said a word? Why your energy lingers in places your voice has never reached? Why strangers feel entitled to tell your story, even when they don't know your scars? It's because when your name becomes a story, everyone wants a chapter, even if they have to write it in fiction. What they're really captivated by isn't the details of your life. It's the force behind your existence. They don't understand how you've risen without begging, built without boasting, and walked with power without shouting. So, what do? They create their own versions, their own edits, their own interpretations of you. But the real myth? It isn't what they made up about you. It's how you never needed their words to move the world. Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord." You don't have to defend yourself against every twisted word. The truth is your armor, and your consistency is your sword. When the spark of your name first ignited conversation, it wasn't because you chased exposure. It was because your spirit carried a vibration that couldn't be ignored. People projected onto you hopes, fears, admiration, jealousy, anything that made them feel something. They needed someone to embody what they could no longer find in themselves. And you didn't even ask for it. But you were built for it. Have you noticed how your life became public before you consented? How your name entered rooms filled with people you've never met? That's because you've become a mirror. And mirrors make people uncomfortable when they haven't made peace with their own reflection. It reminds me of Banksy, the anonymous street artist who redefined what art could be. No face, no fame hunting, no formal rules. Just expression that disrupted the norm. People speculated endlessly about who he was. But it wasn't about the man. It was about the message. That's the power you carry. Your life speaks even when you don't. Acts 5:38-39 offers reassurance. For if their purpose or activity is of human origin, it will fail. But if it is from God, you will not be able to stop these people. You will only find yourselves fighting against God. And those who try to rewrite your narrative, they're not just wrestling with you. They're wrestling with the divine fingerprints on your life. But here's the part no one tells you. Every legend has storytellers. Some will uplift, some will distort. Some will attach themselves to your rise so they can say they were part of it. The moment you stood out, the myth makers clocked in. Some repost your journey like gospel. Others retell it like scandal. Both are reacting to the same thing, your undeniable frequency. So, here's a question for you. Have you started shrinking yourself because they've turned your story into something bigger than you expected? Have you hesitated to take up space because you feel like your life is no longer yours to narrate? You didn't ask for the spotlight, but it found you, not because of noise, but because of truth. Mother Teresa was never loud. She didn't campaign for global recognition, yet her name became a symbol of compassion around the world. Why? Because when someone moves in divine purpose, their impact echoes louder than their intention. Like her, you didn't try to become a legend. You simply refused to betray your calling. You've probably noticed it by now. People who claim they knew you back then, or say they saw your potential first. Some do it out of genuine pride. Others do it out of hunger for association. They want to place themselves in your story so they can share the glow. But you know the truth, and the truth doesn't need marketing. Philippians 1:6 reminds us, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." Your story is not in their hands. It's in His, and He's not finished yet. So while they build theories and rumors and alternate versions of who you are, you don't need to rush in to correct them. Why argue with shadows when you were called to shine? Think of Satoshi Nakamoto, the mysterious creator of Bitcoin. No one knows his real identity, and yet his name has reshaped global economics. He didn't do interviews. He didn't seek a following. He left behind work that moved systems. That's what you're doing, shaking structures simply by showing up in alignment. Your presence is now symbolic. To some, you're the blueprint. To others, the competition. To some, a trigger. To others, a sign that it's still possible to be real in a world gone plastic. They don't all agree on what you are, but none of them can deny that you are. 1 Samuel 16:7 gives us divine perspective. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. While they judge based on headlines and hearsay, heaven knows your heart. And that's why you keep rising. Have you ever felt tempted to step back just to quiet the noise? Ever wanted to go silent so they'd stop talking? Don't. This is not the time to hide. This is the time to move forward, not for validation, but for completion. You're not moving because of them. You're moving in spite of them. Some will hype you up only to get close to the light. Others will rewrite history to make themselves part of your foundation. But don't hand them the pen. Guard your peace. Guard your process. And never forget, you didn't become magnetic by mimicking anyone. You became magnetic by becoming you. Zora Neale Hurston, the literary voice of the Harlem Renaissance, was often misunderstood in her time, but her words endured. Her stories became timeless. Now she's studied across the world. Her legacy wasn't shaped by those who misunderstood her. It was preserved by the truth she never compromised. So let them write their stories. Let them argue over your narrative in comment sections and whispers. You don't need to defend what was divinely designed, because the real ones, they feel you, even if they don't understand you. And that's more powerful than being liked. John 8:32 says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Your truth is your freedom. Your presence is your proof. And no matter how many versions of your story they try to tell, the real story will always rise. So here's the last question for you. Chosen one, will you keep walking like the world is still deciding who you are, or will you move like heaven already declared it? Because the truth is, you are not just a person anymore. You are a presence, and that presence shakes rooms, disrupts narratives, awakens souls. Whether they praise you or misquote you, they feel you. You didn't become a legend because of their words. You became one in spite of them. So keep going. Let them talk. Let them twist. Let them write their versions. But never forget, you're writing your own in silence. And when the dust settles, only truth remains standing. Number 7. When they hate you, trend, even in their silence. Chosen one, have you felt the tension when your name enters a room even before you arrive? Have you noticed how people flinch at your progress, yet never miss a single detail of your journey? Isn't it strange how the ones who don't care about you somehow stay updated with your every move? Their silence isn't absence, it's obsession with the volume turned low. They don't believe in you, but they can't stop watching you. That's not hate, that's hunger disguised as denial. It's fascination wrapped in fear. And the ones who hate you the loudest, they're often the ones watching you the closest. Isn't it funny how they claim you're not that deep, not all that, just a phase, yet they scroll your feed like it's scripture? John 15:18-19 hits it right on target. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. You weren't made to be understood by everyone. You were chosen to disrupt, not to comfort. And every time they study you like a riddle, it's proof they still can't solve what God already sealed. So let's talk about the ones who love to hate. The ones who roll their eyes, but somehow always know what deal you signed, what post you made, what whisper is floating about you this week. They say you're overrated, but they never miss an update. Why? Because they're not just watching, they're studying, zooming in, screenshotting, waiting for a misstep to validate their bitterness. Have you noticed how some people want to see you fall more than they want to see themselves rise? Why is that? Could it be that your existence forces them to acknowledge their stagnation? That your movement exposes the comfort zones they chose never to leave? Psalm 31:20 declares, "You hide them in the shelter of your presence from all human intrigues. You keep them safe in your dwelling from accusing tongues." You've been hidden in God's presence, protected from the very plans formed to trap you. They think they're harming your reputation, but they're only amplifying your anointing. Let them talk, because every word they speak only makes your name louder. Every debate they have about you is another echo pushing your presence into new atmospheres. What they don't understand is this: you're trending even when you're not trying. They think they're dragging your name, but they're distributing it. Think about Colin Kaepernick. They mocked him, misunderstood him, blacklisted him, but they never stopped talking about him. Why? Because presence built in conviction never fades. It expands, just like you, chosen one. You didn't shout for attention, you moved in integrity, and integrity always outlives controversy. You've got haters acting like critics but moving like fans. They zoom in on your smallest decisions, they read between your silence, they rewatch your movements like they're decoding prophecy, and all while denying they care. Why do they care so much about someone they claim means nothing to them? Because you're living proof that favor doesn't come from their approval, that destiny doesn't wait for consensus, and that drives them mad. Here's the kicker: they're not just watching, they're trying to anticipate your next move, but they'll never see it coming, because what guides you doesn't come from the surface, it comes from alignment. And alignment can't be mimicked, it must be received. Isaiah 54:15 says, "If anyone does attack you, it will not be my doing. Whoever attacks you will surrender to you." That's divine reversal. That's the power behind the chosen. You don't have to clap back. You don't have to retaliate. Just rise. Keep rising. Your elevation is the only response they'll feel. Then there are the spectators, the neutral ones, or so they claim. They don't pick a side, but somehow they're always in the middle of the conversation. They circulate rumors like currency. They don't seek truth. They seek traction. And your name. That's premium fuel. They heard you signed a deal you haven't even dreamed of yet. They said you ghosted to build something bigger. They swear they saw you in 2 cities at once. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to be interesting. Because in this age, entertainment trumps evidence. Have you ever heard a rumor so detailed, so confidently shared, that even you had to double-check if it might be true? That's how far your legend has grown. You're becoming lore, an echo passed between people who've never even met you. But don't be shaken. That's not clout. That's consequence. It's the result of walking in a frequency that can't be bought, copied, or explained. Think about Greta Thunberg, a teenager with a voice that moved governments and rattled world leaders. They called her dramatic. They mocked her delivery. But they couldn't ignore her message. She moved like a thunderclap in a culture of whispers. Just like you. No gimmicks. Just gravity. When you rise without their validation, they panic. So what do? They build stories to feel in control. They make you into a character they can manage, but you were never meant to fit their storyline. Matthew 5:11-12 reminds us, "Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven." Your reward isn't in their praise, it's in your purpose. Let them lie. Heaven still keeps receipts. So don't waste energy trying to correct every misconception. Don't chase rumors with explanations. Every breath spent on their fiction is a breath stolen from your future, and you, chosen one, have too much ahead to argue with shadows. Franz Kafka once said, "Don't bend, don't water it down, don't try to make it logical, don't edit your soul according to the fashion." And that's exactly what you're doing. You're walking unbothered through noise, unapologetic in purpose. So here's the question. Why should you slow your pace for people who aren't even running their own race? Let them guess. Let them gossip. Let them gather around your name like it's firelight in a cold room. Because it is. Your name is now the conversation, not because you chased it, but because you carried it. You carried the weight, the silence, the transformation. You became the movement they didn't see coming. And now that you're visible, they don't know whether to run, applaud, or throw stones. Let them watch. Let them worry. You don't need their understanding. You were never meant to be explainable. You were meant to be unforgettable. Number 8. You didn't ask for power. You became it. Chosen one. Do you ever sit back and wonder why your name stirs the atmosphere, even in silence? Why rooms feel tighter when you enter? Why conversations shift when you're near, even though you said nothing? It's not because you asked for power. It's because you became it. They thought it was luck. But how many times can luck knock before people realize it's not chance? It's calling. They see your wins and try to make sense of them. It must be timing, they say, just a streak, a phase. But deep down, even they know, luck doesn't keep showing up like that. Purpose does. And purpose doesn't need applause to keep moving. It just needs permission. From heaven, not people. Jeremiah 1:5 reminds us, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." You weren't just born, you were positioned. That's why they're watching you, even when they say they don't believe in you. Because deep down, they feel something real is moving in you. And real power always makes noise, even when you're silent. Let's clear the air. Every rumor, every repost, every casual dig and side-eye, none of it is random. You don't become a topic unless your presence demands it. They don't obsess over people they don't feel. And they feel you more than they'd ever admit. Because when someone walks with the kind of authority you carry, people start searching for definitions to explain away the disturbance. Have you felt that? The way they whisper your name with curiosity, but mention it aloud with shade. That contradiction, that confusion. They don't talk about you because they understand you. They talk because they don't. And that mystery, that unexplainable frequency, that's your power. Think about Bob Marley. His music wasn't just rhythm, it was revelation. He never asked to be a global icon. He just told the truth over and over again. And the world couldn't stop listening, just like them with you. You didn't promote your presence pulled attention. So ask yourself, if you were really ordinary, would they be this invested in misunderstanding you? You didn't stumble into this moment, you bled for it. Through the chaos, through doubt, through every silent breakdown where you could have given up, but didn't. You kept walking through storms that would have broken others. Legends aren't born in comfort, they're forged in fire. And the flames you faced didn't destroy you, they sharpened you. Isaiah 43:2 promises this: when you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze. You didn't just survive the fire, you learned to glow in it. And now they confuse your strength with luck, your confidence with cockiness, your peace with privilege. But what they never saw were the nights you had to talk yourself off the edge, the prayers soaked in tears, the hope that only held on by a thread. Have you noticed that the louder you rise, the more questions they ask, but none of them are real questions? They don't want to know how you made it. They want you to fail so they can stop feeling so small in your shadow. But what they don't realize is, this glow didn't come from outside affirmation. It came from your refusal to fold. When they counted you out, they were doing flawed math. They said you were done. You were just beginning. They called your last win the peak. You were just stretching. They expected you to fall. You flew instead. You see, this journey was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving to yourself that nothing outside of you defines what God placed inside of you. Romans 8:37 declares, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." You've been winning battles no one knows about, carrying weights no one sees. That's why you walk with that quiet fire. You don't need to shout, you just show up and shift the room. Think about Viola Davis. They told her she wasn't Hollywood enough. Her skin, her voice, her presence, it didn't fit the box, so she shattered the box. Now she's one of the most awarded actors alive. Not because she begged for power, but because she became it. That's your story too, isn't it? They saw your silence and mistook it for surrender. But silence is where your clarity sharpened. They don't realize you stopped explaining yourself not because you had nothing to say, but because you finally knew your truth didn't require translation. And that's what rattles them the most. You move with grace. You smile in storms. You win without theatrics. They want the formula. They want the shortcut. But they're not ready for the weight you had to carry to walk like this. Isaiah 40:31 promises, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles." That's why you keep rising, even when gravity feels like it's trying to pull you under. Because your source isn't hype. It's heaven. And now that your presence is taking up space, they're uncomfortable, not because you're too much, but because you reflect everything they gave up on. Your endurance stings their excuses. Your power highlights their procrastination. So they label you different. And they're right. You are different, not because you were handed something, but because you refused to hand over your purpose when pressure knocked. Have you ever wondered why they want your glow, but couldn't survive your story? Why they want your strength, but couldn't handle your process? Think of Chadwick Boseman. While filming legendary roles, he was battling cancer in silence. He didn't ask for pity, he walked in power. He embodied discipline, humility, and purpose until his final breath. And now his legacy speaks louder than any rumor could. Chosen one, you are not here by accident. You are not rising by coincidence. You are proof that power is not inherited, it's earned. And you earned it every time you didn't quit. Every time you kept showing up when it would have been easier to disappear. They want you to explain your elevation, but you can't give someone a formula for what only faith can build. So when they ask how you did it, just tell them this: I didn't choose power, I chose myself, and the power followed. That's it. No secrets, no magic tricks, just a sacred refusal to shrink, a daily decision to keep walking, even when you couldn't see the next step. John 14:12 echoes your journey. Very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these. Greater is in your DNA, not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. So let them question, let them talk, let them keep watching like your life is a series they can't stop streaming, because whether they admit it or not, you've become the storm they never saw coming. You are the presence they pretend not to see, but can't look away from. You're the power they try to explain, but can't comprehend. You're the proof that God still chooses people the world tries to overlook. And the world, it's watching, but don't stop. Not now. You're just getting started. Beloved chosen one, you've owned your power. You didn't borrow it. You didn't fake it. You walked through storms, stood in the fire, and rose with a light no one could dim. And now, the world has no choice but to either respect your presence or get out of your way. The season of questioning is over. The era of pretending you're invisible is done. You have arrived, and every room you enter will now feel it. As everything starts to fall into place, I want you to hold on to this truth. They were never just watching, they were studying. They were learning from your resilience. They were taking notes from your silence. They were decoding your alignment. You didn't just survive what was meant to destroy you, you evolved through it. You became proof that divine timing is louder than public noise, and that real power doesn't have to announce itself to be felt. That's why your name carries weight even in places you've never walked. That's why people feel your energy before you speak. The universe does not choose the loudest voice or the most polished performance. It chooses the soul that remained real through pressure. It chooses the ones who never gave up, even when no one was clapping. It chooses the ones like you. And to you, my dear listener, supporter, soul traveler, I want to say thank you. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Thank you for showing up with an open heart, for listening not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Every comment, every moment you spent here, every breath you gave to these words, it means more than you know. If this message moved you and you'd like to support the continuation of this work, you can do so by using Super Thanks below. Your donation helps create more powerful, spirit-led content for the ones still searching. But hear me clearly, whether you give or not, I am already deeply grateful. Just your presence here, your time, your attention, that is a gift I don't take lightly. As you leave this space and walk back into your world, may you carry this blessing with you. May your name continue to open doors your voice hasn't even touched. May you be guided by peace, protected by grace, and surrounded by favor. May your soul stay rooted, your path stay clear, and your light remain untouched by the confusion of others. And above all, may everything that's meant for you move toward you now, without struggle, without delay, and without apology. Keep walking, chosen one. Keep shining without permission. And never, ever forget, you are the one they can't replace, the one they can't define, the one heaven handpicked for such a time as this. The world is shifting because you're in it, and you're just getting started.